talking about the program that we talked about in the beginning, Educate Me, based on a statement by Albert Einstein saying, "I have no special talent, I'm only passionately curious." We have this interesting program, Educate Me, and basically it is for children. Today we have with us the founder and head of the program, Yasmin Helmi. Welcome to the show, and Yasmin will tell us more about this interesting program, right?
Yeah, welcome. Good morning.
Good morning to you. What is Educate Me?
Educate Me is so many things, in fact. How it started at the beginning was financial support for the underprivileged children in order to get them into schools, public schools. And then as it evolved, we started figuring out that this is really not enough. There are so many problems at the schools. Children are not getting educated. They don't know how to read and write, even at a very later stage. So we started really developing their character.
It happened that I met one of the children, you know, and she was at third prep or something like this, and she cannot write her name in Arabic.
I'm not surprised. Sometimes, sometimes they even graduate from school, from ثانوية عامة, and they really don't know how to read and write because simply they cheat. The results are shared between them because a certain percentage has to pass the exams for the school's own sake, so it just happens. So then we started developing the children's character, and we started rethinking into ourselves, what is the purpose of education? What is the end of education? Is it school? Is it university? Is it a job? Or is it oneself? Is it our own enlightenment and our own growth?
What kind of children are we talking about?
Right now we're working with underprivileged children in an area called the Kunaisa or Talbiya, and the age range is from 6 to 13.
They are at school or not?
We reinstated them into schools again, but this is not really our only focus, or this is not even our focus. Our focus is really developing their character and working with them.
How do you do this?
We do this in the form of different learning interventions that we carry out with them, and the whole idea of what we're trying to do is to get them to go where they want to go. So developing this whole holistic educational approach that gets them curious, it stimulates their curiosity, it nurtures their curiosity, and it allows them to go where they want to go. So getting them used to the process of, I want to pursue this, this is my goal, how can I get it, what are the resources that I need, and then starting to pursue this passion, because what we really want eventually is people who are capable of following their own dreams, following their own passions, and setting a goal and actually pursuing it.
Yasmin, of course, we will talk about dealing with children, but no doubt you are dealing with children and you have to deal with the family as well.
True.
How was this experience? Did the family accept? Because sometimes in such areas, the family prefer their child to go for work, to bring money. Did they accept the idea?
Yeah, you're right. Honestly, in the area where we're operating, most of the families were very cooperative. Most of them say the sentence that we want our children to be better than us, we want a better future for our children. So maybe 95% or even more than this are very cooperative. They're also part of what we're doing with the children. So one of our learning pillars is dealing with the family, helping them with counseling, non-violent parenting, and a lot of to be taught how to read and write. So we're also developing this, and that's why we're not just stopping at working with the children, but we're planning to build a community center in the area where the families will be integrated, the community leaders would be integrated, so it would be like the point of change in the whole community.
So mothers are joining as well?
Yes,
I'm usually concentrating on mothers because usually the father is outside, so she is the one who's going to stay with the child. Maybe she can start with him, for example.
True.
So talking about these children, tell us more about your experience with them and how did they receive the idea? How do you make the program step by step?
Honestly, they're quite an inspiration. Children in general are very inspiring. They're geniuses, and everything we came up with in this program was really inspired by the children, inspired by just monitoring how they act, how they engage, what they prefer, and how sort of stubborn they are, because when they want something they really want to go after it. So everything we do was inspired by the children, and everything we ourselves developed into was inspired by them. So while teaching them to pursue their own dreams and go after what they want, we got to do this with ourselves as well. So Educate Me turned from an educational program that was about teaching or facilitating into an entire mentorship program, creating this whole community of mentors. So every student is a mentor and every mentor is a student. And the children, the way they develop is probably way less than the way we develop ourselves. So trying to get them excited about the program, try to get them to go where they want to go, gets us to do the same. It gets us to develop very fast, to learn very fast.
Who makes the programs and work with you?
Right now we're almost 40 people, age ranges from 15 and up to 43. It's 95% based on volunteers. We only have 2 full-timers, myself included. And the children are actually part of the research and design that we do.
So you have a center, for example, in that area?
Not yet. That's what we're planning to do.
So to make this program, or to have this program right now?
We search for alternatives we can utilize. Sometimes, for instance, Fagnoon, if you know about it. Sometimes schools donate their space. Sometimes
so you bring the children together and you start working with them.
Exactly.
And you can bring children with different ages, or you select same age, for example?
No, we work with one age group from 6 to 13. But the way we work with them is not really based on like 6-year-olds alone and 7-year-olds
Usually
alone.
how many child attend?
At one session, now we're working with 40, and this is how we're
40?
planning to batch them. Yeah, like we have
Don't you think
135.
this is too much?
Not really.
A huge number, just as schools, because we used to complain about governmental schools saying there are 40 and 60 students at school.
Yeah, I get it. I get your point, but it's not a classroom. We don't really operate in a classroom. We do everything through experiential learning, so we carry out all our learning outside of the classroom.
The chance to work, and that each and every child can cooperate and be active in this program, for example.
Yes, because the way we do it is that we split the kids into groups, and the ratio of mentor to child is 3 to 1. So for every 3 children we have 1 mentor. So even if they're 40, they're divided into groups. It's a very
this is nice. You're working also with building the spirit of the teamwork as well.
True.
Which is we all need, I believe, not only the children.
True, and unfortunately when they go to school they really get used to competition. So I want to score the highest grade or that sort of stuff, so they're not really used to working together.
Yasmin, it is really an interesting program, and maybe I want to go more into details. For example, if you have this selection of children, for example, and you have got these groups, what are you doing? What are you talking about?
A lot of things. So we have...
Just give me an example. Just describe for me, for example, a class. I know it's not a class, but just a symbol.
Okay, well, I'll describe to you one of our learning pillars, which we call Ask, which is Ask the Children. So we basically get a group of children and we start asking them, what would you like to learn about? And then each one of them comes up with something, and then we go...
What did they say?
Some said
the
swimming.
most common thing.
Some said, most of them were sports, so swimming, karate. Some said, I want to learn English. Someone said, I want to learn ballet.
No one said that he wants to learn more about Egypt, for example, about history, about civilization, anything related to his country, for example?
Not yet.
No one.
Not yet, and that's why one of our learning pillars is to get them curious about these things. So get them
feel
to
the belonging of his country.
True, get them exposed to different learning experiences, to go to a lot of field trips. So we're taking them to the Citadel very soon. So get them curious about what's out there, because they haven't really been exposed, so they don't really know much about what's there. So again, back to your question, so we ask them, what would you like to do? Then we take it further. Why do you want to do this? Where can you do it? What are the resources that you need? And we leave them up with the question, figure out the place where you can carry this out. So when the sports was the case, they went out there and they called us back 2 days ago, and they're like, we found the place, Talbiya Club, that's right next to us. And then we took them there. We're like, okay, what are the resources that you need? Speak to the coach. They spoke to the coach, they wrote down the resources that they needed, they calculated the budget that they needed, and then we're like, okay, fine. Figure out what you can do to raise this money. What are your talents? What are the resources around you? What have you learned previously that you can do? And we empower them to fundraise. So under our guidance, they come up with ideas. They start implementing whatever talents they have. And then, for instance, when we tried this with a group of 10, they're like, we'll do an exhibition and we're going to sell handicrafts. They did this, and then they got what they wanted, and eventually they started practicing their passion. And while practicing what they wanted to, learn, what they chose to learn, they learn so much. They learn so much in the process. So they learn a lot of sales, a lot of marketing, a lot of accounting without a book, like without us having to instate anything. It just happens in the process. So that's like in a nutshell one of our main pillars, which we call Ask the Children or Ask. Another program we have is Know, which is getting to know the children and getting them to know the world around them, getting them exposed, getting them curious, exposing them to so many experiences.
Through what? How do you make it as well?
Through experiential learning. So if I want to expose them to sciences, for instance, to chemistry, I can take them to do water testing. If I want to expose them to recycling, I'll take them to Hayz Zabalin, for instance. I'll let them to see different experiences. I'll make them like try to come up with new ideas of how to solve different problems. Exposing them to stuff like field trips, taking them to the pyramids, to the citadel, to the zoo.
How long the program takes?
Actually, that's a very good question. It's not time bound as much as it's developmental bound. So the curious, like the program where it gets them curious is 1 year long. The other program where they go where they want to go is 1 year plus. So our exit criteria is not a time that they have to spend, it's a project that they have to do, and that's teaching somebody else or walking somebody else through the program, mentoring somebody else. And that's the whole idea of creating a whole community of mentors. So I taught you something, it's your responsibility to teach it to someone else, and that's their graduation project.
Well, it's a great idea, Yasmin, and we all wish you the best of luck. Thank you very much. Yasmin
Thank you very much.
founder and head of Educate Me program. Now it's time for some live news, and we'll be back to continue the breakfast show.